Barnard does not get through and into the duels in the DS Penske. He stays 7th fastest. Ticktum doesn't improve, and Verne does right at the end of the session. And likewise, Oliver Rowland pulls it out of the bag. He was the man who was on the bubble. He goes up into 3rd quickest. Gunther gets a lap in right at the very end as well and pushes Dan Ticktum out of the duels by 2/100ths of a second. So at the end of that one, it's Mortara, Gunther, Rowland and Jean-Eric Verne, the 4 drivers who will progress forwards. We lose Ticktum, we lose yesterday's race winner Pascal Wehrlein, and we lose another man from the podium, Mitch Evans. Let's have a look at the lineup then for Group B here in Jeddah. Nick Cassidy, Nico Muller, Jake Dennis, Sebastian Buemi, Antonio Felix da Costa, Nick de Vries, Pepe Martin, Zane Maloney, Felipe Drugovich and Lucas de Grassi are your 10 drivers who will be out in this session. Jake Dennis over the line, goes 2nd quickest. He pushes Cassidy onto the bubble and pushes Zane Maloney out of qualifying then. But all eyes on Lucas de Grassi, as you said. Let's see what he can do. Maloney can't improve in the sister Lodi Yamaha Abt as he takes the checkered flag, misses out by 8/100ths of a second. Here is Lucas de Grassi then. He comes to the line. Can he improve? No. Loses time in that final sector and stays slowest of the lot. Drugovich also went into the pits, so the Brazilian driver misses out again for a 2nd day in succession. So let's get confirmation, though, of how it all finished in Group B. Da Costa, Dennis, Buemi and Cassidy are your top 4 that progress forwards. Zane Maloney misses out by 8/100ths of a second, but that should be, we reckon, his best starting position. Previous best prior to this was 13th in Miami. Quarterfinal 1, Oliver Rowland versus Maximilian Gunther. Yeah, coming through into the final chicane then. So Rowland on the left, Gunther on the right. They're going to be aiming it for the line. Rowland with the advantage in Sector 1 and indeed in Sector 2. Can he out-qualify Maximilian Gunther as the German comes to the line? He can. 0.2 of a second in it. Rowland progresses forwards and into the semi-finals. The front row man from yesterday, Maximilian Gunther, will go no further than the quarterfinals here for round 5. Quarterfinal 2 up next. Jean-Eric Verne in the Citroën. Eder Mortara, the pole man from 24 hours ago in the Mahindra.
Mortara's got just a huge advantage, nearly 3/10 already.
Yeah, Mortara building that advantage, you say, further still in sector number 2. Verne comes to take the checkered flag. What is the time going to be for the Frenchman? 1:15.579, but Mortara on an absolute fly. This could be a low 15 as he comes to take the checkered flag. It is a low 15. He out-qualifies it by 0.4 of a second at 15.168. That was 0.2 of a second faster than we saw from Oliver Rowland. Another Swiss driver coming up in quarterfinal 3 is Sebastian Buemi. He'll be going alongside Andretti's Jake Dennis.
Dennis now comes through that final chicane using the 4-wheel drive to come up to the line, and he goes quicker, a 15.3 for Jake Dennis.
Really pulled it out in that final sector in particular. That's where Buemi was 0.3 of a second slower in the last part of the lap. So Andretti and Jake Dennis will go through into the semi-finals. Quarterfinal 4, Nick Cassidy versus Da Costa then. So Jaguar versus Citroën. Da Costa catching, though, in the 2nd sector. The deficit down to just 3/100ths of a second. This is going to be tight between these 2 drivers. It's not going to be the quickest time we've seen overall so far in the dual stages of qualifying. Cassidy, though, has made some kind of a problem. You can see arms in the air for Cyril Blaze, and something's gone wrong there. Maybe he's had a loss of power in the final sector. Either way, Da Costa's built up an advantage of nearly half a second, and he goes through into the semi-finals. What happened there for Nick Cassidy?
Oh, no, that was a mistake. It just took too much curb. I think the bottom of the car, the belly of the car, hit the curb.
Both Citroëns out of the quarterfinals. The upshot is we'll see Rowland, Mortara, Dennis and Da Costa going through into the semis. Oliver Rowland, who started down in 16th on the grid here 24 hours ago, he'll go up against the pole man from that race, Eduardo Mortara. Sector 2 and Sector 3 is where Mortara's been strong, and he's pulled it back from a deficit to an advantage. Goes up by 1/10 of a second to the better of Rowland. Let's see whether he can continue that momentum in the final couple of corners through the penultimate chicane. This is where we saw a mistake for Cassidy in the quarterfinals a few moments ago. No such bother for these 2 drivers. Mortara with now 0.2 of a second in his pocket as he throws it over the curbs, and we come to the timing line. Rowland then versus Mortara in the battle for a position in the finals. Who gets it? It's Eduardo Mortara by 0.3 of a second. He knocks out Oliver Rowland, and once again Mortara at worst will line up on the front row of the grid. Who will be joining Mortara in the final? Will it be Da Costa? Will it be Dennis? Dennis with nearly 0.2 of a second the advantage, and now one chicane left as he comes through the final couple of corners, and he's surely going to have enough of time in his pocket to take the position in the final as he comes to take it. Yes, he does. 0.3 of a second. Dennis for Andretti will go through.
Yeah, he's done a 15.0, so that is now the fastest lap of the weekend.
Swiss drivers have taken pole position on the last 3 occasions in Formula E. Will it be the same here this afternoon, or will we see Jake Dennis occupying the top spot? Mortara so close, up against the wall on the entry into turn 13, has an advantage of Dennis in the second sector. This is where the Mahindra driver's been strong. Big slide though out of the penultimate chicane. That's going to cost him 0.1 of a second or 2. He was up though in sector 2 compared to Jake Dennis. Out of the final corner we go here for Eduardo Mortara. Is it going to still be enough for him to come over the line and take pole position? It's a 15.1. It's as good as we've seen from the man who was on pole 24 hours ago. But Dennis now with just one more chicane to negotiate, and he is closing in this final sector. Will it be Mortara and Mahindra on pole? Will it be Dennis and Andretti? To the line we go between Dennis and Mortara. Dennis comes to the line. He hasn't done it. 3/100ths of a second in it. And it's Eduardo Mortara who takes 2 back-to-back poles here in Jeddah.